There are a number of infamous soft locks in games that happen in such specific moments that they not only prevent you from finishing the game, they also can't be fixed. So your only solution is to delete the save file and start from the beginning. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 times games accidentally lost all of your progress. Number 10, Esbern Wall Bug, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Skyrim upholds Bethesda's tradition of buggy design by being filled with all sorts of programming issues. However, whereas most of them are goofy things like bad AI or space launching giants, there's only one of them that can cost you your progress, or at least it's the most well-known one of these kind. The Esbern Wall Bug is a frequently occurring issue where the Blade's Loremaster can soft lock you by never finishing his dialogue. The bug happens during the Alduin's Wall quest line, and depending on whether you're a multiple save files or a one save to rule them all kind of person, like the normal kind of person, or the oh my god, how are you living like that person, it can possibly ruin your entire playthrough. If I came for you specifically at that save thing, just know that I got in trouble with Starfield the other day because apparently you can't have 300 saves. There's no way of knowing if the bug has occurred in your game unless Esbern stops talking and gives you a prompt to continue the main quest. For this reason, it's good to have a backup save file before entering the chamber with the wall, as if you rely on autosaves only, Esbern's lack of cooperation might permanently ruin your save and force you to start a new run. Number 9, Canon Room Glitch, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. The original Wii release of Legend of Zelda The Twilight Princess has a pretty nasty softlock glitch related to saving. Turns out if you save at the wrong time, which again, if you heard from me in the last entry, it sounds like I would totally fall for this, your game might break so horribly that you won't be able to progress. The bug in question is known within the Zelda community as the Canon Room glitch. It occurs when you save and quit inside the Canon Room, causing the game to load your progress incorrectly and not register some of the things you did, preventing you from warping out of the room. The game will still act as if you need to do the things you've already done, but since of course you can't repeat them, there's no way to fix it. What's worse is that since Twilight Princess gives you only one save slot for your playthrough, once the glitch occurs, you really have no other option than to delete your save file and start over. It's an absolutely awful situation that can erase hours of gameplay within less than a minute, so make sure you save your game in the right locations, like the hub world and other safe spaces. Number 8, German Magikarp, Pokémon Diamond and Pearl. Now, when Pokemon players talk about being unable to beat the game, what do you think their reason is? Are they struggling to beat a tough gym leader? To collect all the Pokedex entries? Well, in the case of some players, the answer is a German Magikarp, which is a sentence I never thought I would say, but here we go. Yep, one of the possible ways of soft-locking yourself in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl is by trading your Finian for a Magikarp belonging to a German-speaking trainer called the Meister. The Meister is located on an isolated island near Route 226. If Finian is your only Pokemon with Surf and you don't have access to a flying Pokemon or a fishing rod, which can catch something better than a Magikarp, as soon as you trade Finian away, you'll be stuck on the island. Why? Because unlike Finian, Magikarp is unable to learn Surf. Moreover, trading your Pokemon will prompt you to save the game, and if you do so, depending on your circumstances, the decision might cost you a permanent softlock. Maybe the Meister wanted to trade with you because his Magikarp got him stuck on the island as well. Now you have to wait till someone else rocks up, and then you can trap them, and so on and so forth. Number 7, Boss Takes Leave, Bubble Bobble Revolution. Bubble Bobble Revolution is one of the most infamous cases in the history of video games of terrible game releases. The original version of the title came out with a devastating glitch that prevented you from completing a particular level and rendered all of your progress in the game completely pointless. The problem appeared in level 30 of the game, where the boss of the level simply didn't show up. This unexpected absence resulted in the game glitching out so badly that every level after 30 would appear empty and ultimately prevent you from actually finishing the game. The glitch not only took away your ability to beat Bubble Bobble, or experience what would have been 70% of the game, but it also meant that any progress you made until that point would have to be erased, as the run was now broken beyond repair. Of course, until someone came up with a fix, starting over was out of the question too, since every consecutive playthrough would run into the same bug. There you go, I guess no one works harder than video game bosses, because if they don't show up, the workplace just breaks apart. Number 6, turret on a button, Portal 2. Soft locking is actually a common occurrence in Portal 2. Several stages have fail-safes in case the player does something to block the exit or otherwise prevent themselves from finishing the level. However, there's one extremely rare occurrence that even the game isn't prepared for. In one of the later stages, when Wheatley takes control of the facility, there's a small chance that one of the Franken turrets that Wheatley spawns can be pushed onto a button that opens the exit door by another turret, undoing all your work put into solving the puzzle, and even worse, preventing you from exiting the level. Unlike other soft locks in the game, the turret is a glitch, so the game doesn't have a solution for it, and you can't do anything about the turret itself because it doesn't count as an interactable object. You're basically forced to start the entire level over, setting you back by a massive amount of time. And in fact, if you're unlucky enough to have only one save after the glitch has occurred, then again, you might lose all your progress. Somehow, Wheatley is even more incompetent at running the lab than everyone thought. Number 5, grappling hook, Crash Twin Sanity. Imagine playing an entire game, finishing every level and reaching the final boss, only to realize you can't finish because of one simple bug. The original version of Twin Sanity included a mysterious glitch that would sometimes refuse to spawn the grappling hook during the fight with the final boss of the game. Now, that might sound like it's not that big of a deal, but seeing as the grappling hook is necessary to defeating the boss, losing the item to the glitch would mean that you couldn't finish the game. What's worse is that the glitch would be a part of your entire save file, meaning even if you reload the game, you're still going to come across it and find yourself unable to beat the boss. Luckily, some players eventually found a workaround for the missing grappling hook by figuring out that holding still during hook jumps let them pass the sequence, but this method still only worked for some of the affected players. The rest have to live with the realization that they'll never be able to complete their playthrough of Twin Sanity to this day, which is deeply uncool. Number 4, Cupid Arrow, King's Quest IV. Sierra might be one of the only video game companies in history to implement soft locks into their games as a feature, and pretty much a feature that's across all of their games, as every single one of their point-and-click games, almost to its entirety, features some kind of soft lock moment, and it really just seems like they're enjoying laughing at you. The example from King's Quest IV, The Perils of Rosella, is unique in that any progress loss you might experience from the soft lock is entirely your fault. You see, early in the game, you find a set of Cupid arrows. If you want to, you can try to use them in different situations to see what a little bit of love-related archery can do. The game will allow you to do that, consuming your Cupid arrows with every use. However, what it doesn't tell you is that using them up too quickly will prevent you from finishing the game, because you do need them to defeat the final boss. You might use the arrows, then spend the rest of the game blissfully ignorant of your mistake, right up until that very end situation where you're reminded in a not so pleasant manner that you kind of messed up. Number 3, the VIP card bug, Paper Mario: The Origami King. Paper Mario: The Origami King is the latest installment in the Paper Mache series that unfortunately has been released with a number of game-breaking crashes. One of them was so notorious that when the game just came out, Nintendo had to put out an official statement instructing people how to avoid it before they were able to fix it. The bug in question occurred in the Shangri Spa. Here, the player could gain access to the Spring of Rainbows via a special VIP card, which they received as a reward for stamping the locations of 4 other springs. However, choosing to use the VIP card this way would lead to a horrible soft lock. The toad at the entrance to the spring would take the card from you upon entering it, and once there, you'd have no way of continuing your journey as you couldn't get another card, and it was necessary for progressing the story. Since the game would make you save after entering the Spring of Rainbows, the decision would ultimately lead to the complete loss of your save file, forcing you to start over. This game-breaking situation is thankfully fixed now, but some players are still wary to enter the Forbidden Spring. And fair enough. Number 2. Metal Detector. Resident Evil Code Veronica. The Resident Evil safe boxes are some of the more recognizable features of the series. They allow the player to store any of the excess items they're carrying without forcing them to throw anything out. However, in Resident Evil Code Veronica, one such box can cost you your entire playthrough if you put the wrong items into it. Early on in the story, you come across a metal detector box where the game expects you to drop some of your items. Now, you might be tempted to store the things you won't need for immediate combat, but doing so would be a massive mistake. You see, later on in the story, the game takes away your access to the box. From that point, all the items you kept there are gone forever. So if you decided to put some important story items in there, or all of the arsenal you need to defeat late game bosses, you've basically soft locked yourself out of completing the game. At that point, your only choice, if you want to play more of the game, is to start over and also probably never trust another box in your life ever again. Number 1. Mr. Briny, Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. Mr. Briny is an old sailor from Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire who offers to transport the player to Dewfort Town when the player doesn't have access to HM Surf yet. However, despite his helpful nature, Mr. Briny is secretly responsible for ruining the save files of countless Pokémon trainers. Whenever Mr. Briny transports you between Dewfort Town and the mainland, his sprite stays at your destination to ensure you can get back. Unfortunately, that failsafe is actually pretty flawed in itself because if you choose to use an escape rope or teleport to escape Dewfort's Pokemon Center after already taking Mr. Briny's ferry to Route 104, the old man will remain where he dropped you, meaning you're stuck on Dewfort Island forever. Since there aren't two versions of Mr. Briny for each port, once you get separated from him, you have no way of going back. And if you save your game after teleporting away from him, you might even get stranded permanently, with no other choice than to start a new save. Nothing like becoming a castaway in the middle of a populated island. Brutal.